Hey everybody, Rosematter here, and welcome to part 14 of my Great Ace Attorney Chronicles Let's Play. The last episode we wrapped up the fourth trial, and similar to the Kazuma case, it was just a unfortunate set of circumstances that led to, thankfully, not somebody dying this time, but almost dying. So, we are 2 for 2, and I'm sure the Reaper is not too happy about that. And it ended with something I'm very happy about, which is now we live in the Sholmes residence, or above the Sholmes residence, so that means more Sholmes, which is always a good time, in my opinion. So this is going to be the fifth and last trial, at least, for this particular game. And the Ace Attorney games always tend to go big, go hard on the last one. So hopefully, and I want a real villain this time. I want like an actual villainous person who, you know, did a horrible crime, and we're gonna find them guilty, and they're gonna have their comeuppance, because the first trial, that woman was definitely a villain, but she didn't really get her comeuppance. I wonder if she's gonna come back in some way in this one, because it kind of was, like, left vague about what happened to her. So, like, I want a true villain for the end. Come on, give me something good here, Ace Attorney. Let's get into it. Let's see what the fifth trial has in store for us. Okay, The Hound of the Baskervilles. The adventure of the unspeakable story. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal. Oh, okay.
Sholmes's cry pierced through the thick wall of fog around us. Wisps of vapor flowed over the pistol as I cocked it, and I waited breathlessly in the stillness. The silence lasted for what seemed an eternity, until, at last, it appeared.
Something about a werewolf? Or a wolf?
From the shadows of the cloud, an enormous beast sprang out upon us. A hound it was, but not such a hound as any mortal has ever seen. Its eyes glowed with a smoldering glare. The whole of its ox-sized body was outlined in white-hot flames. Its rumbling pant and hideous howl, so terrified was I that I began to tremble with fear. "Look well, Wilson," Sholmes declared, gazing upon the mystical beast. "For this is the diabolical hound of the Baskervilles."
Okay, well, similar to the coiled band of, like, what actually is this thing? Or the speckled band, not the coiled band. Our first 2 months in London passed by in a flash. Okay, we are doing quite the flash forward here. And that disconcerting courtroom experience we were first thrown into on the day we arrived in the country, and in Soseki-san's terrible ordeal that had followed closely behind, we had emerged victorious. However, there then came an abrupt end to our opportunities to appear in court. Oh, which was hardly surprising, of course, since I was nothing more than an amateur, an unknown student of law from a faraway land. So life in our little office was very quiet. That is, until it was shattered one day by that fateful telegram. Alright, so we are in springtime now. I want to see, what did they do with the attic? Did they make it look, did they spruce it up a bit, make it look a little bit more professional? Okay, it looks very cozy. It looks so cozy. That morning, I was woken by the unreserved knocking on the door by the telegram boy. But after he'd gone, Susato-san's behavior became very obviously strange. Susato-san? Yes. Is it time to leave for court already? Let me see. What case is it today? I don't think I'm scheduled to defend anyone at the moment, am I? Oh, no, of course not. How silly of me. But I think Iris said she would make us breakfast this morning. So, shall we go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite? Yes. Iris makes the most delicious breakfast food. She does, doesn't she? Oh my gosh, what a dream. What a dream to, like, live in a cozy, like, attic apartment and get to have, like, full English breakfast all the time with Sholmes. Like, dream. Once our bellies are full, we can leave for court in fighting fit form. Let me see. What case is it today? Here we go again. So, what was it about? The telegram that was delivered this morning, I mean. Oh, a telegram. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, but you're not going to get away with that. Well, I didn't think I would. Actually, don't give it a moment's thought. It's nothing. Nothing interesting. Boring, in fact. It was just a boring old telegram. That's 3 times now that she's tried and failed to convince me it was nothing. I promise that I'll tell you about it at some point. I wonder if it's something to do with Kazuma. Alright, I understand. I suppose Soseki-san will have arrived back in Japan by now, won't he? Yes, I should think so. He left immediately after that terrible ordeal. Well, good to see that he hopefully didn't die by the Reaper, which would mean he should have completed the voyage already, or be just a few days away. A fortnight ago, we had that very long telegram from him, do you remember? Complaining of seasickness. But by and large, it seems the voyage has been going well. Is something wrong, Naruhodo-san? He's probably like, Rudosuke's like, compared to what I had to ordeal on our trip, he's probably just fine. I was just wondering, what might have become of Soseki-san had he stayed in London, that's all. You mean, as regards Lord Van Zeek? The Reaper? Yes, I can't help wondering if seasickness would have paled into insignificance in that case. What is it they say? That no one who stands in the dock can be saved by the Reaper, right? Like the way that nightmarish trial ended on the very day we arrived in London. Yeah, I want to get more information on that too. Like, who was behind that? Maybe that's what this case will relate to. Even 2 months on, the cause of that dreaded fire is still a mystery. Yes, but at least Soseki-san is safely out of the country now. Presumably, that means that the curse of the Reaper can only take effect within the confines of the city of London, perhaps. Even if that's the case, it's little comfort. I have a terrible sense of foreboding. If the legend of the Reaper is to be believed, it would mean he wields the sword of justice himself. Come to think of it, I wonder what he's been up to these past 2 months. Surely not wielding that sword against more acquitted defendants. No, I don't think so. Apparently, Lord Van Zeeks hasn't appeared in court once since our last encounter. It's like he's waiting for me to appear in court, and then he runs over. And he's like, I'll be the prosecutor. Oh? Yes, since Soseki-san's trial, he's withdrawn from judicial service again, it seems. Really? Just like before, when he wasn't seen in court at all for several years. So, it's just been me who's had to face him in his recent spat of trials, then. Ugh, just my luck. I wonder if luck doesn't come into it. I was like, come on, once is a coincidence, twice is a pattern. Sorry? What was that? Oh, nothing. Never mind. Alright, let's take a look around. Let's do some investigating around their little office. I've investigated thoroughly, but I can't find anything out of place. We've only been here in London for about 2 months, but my desk is starting to look a little messy already. You could tidy up once in a while. Susato-san, I always say, making a mess is a small sacrifice to pay for being able to further your studies. And time spent tidying up is time you can't devote to the same cause. And time spent on ridiculous arguments is time that could be better spent on some simple housework. She wins, but I'm supposed to be the lawyer here. I'm saying if she was allowed to be a lawyer, she would be better than everybody. Ah, the Daruma doll I brought with me from home, still with only one eye colored in. I said I'd color the other eye once I won my first court case here in Britain, but... But you have won, haven't you? Twice, in fact. Because I feel as though I'm still lacking as a lawyer. I tell you what, why don't you color the other eye in, once you think I'm a proper, fully fledged lawyer? I wonder if that's some sort of, is that like, what's the term? Is that like a good luck charm? Like you can only, like coloring the eye in Is that so? I don't know. Daruma dolls, I've heard of them, but I don't know much about them. I wonder if that's just like a superstitious thing. So this is the tea set that Susato-san brought with her from Japan. Let's hope she hasn't noticed me slipping sugar and milk into my cup when she makes it. It's just so bitter. Tea is a drink to be enjoyed, Naruto-san. You really don't have to force yourself to drink it, you know. I don't like to see you screw up your face so. Ah, this must be the telegram. Let's see. Wow, she just left it out? Ah! No, you mustn't look at that. Not under any circumstances. Alright, I won't. I'm sorry, Naruto-san, but you can be very mischievous at times. Then put the telegram away if you don't want people looking at it. We were rather lucky to find that old aquarium left behind here. The prawns we put in there are doing rather well. And the anemones, too. I'm definitely saying that wrong. It's a wonderful invention, isn't it? The sea, behind glass, inside your room. Another example of Great Britain's greatness. Having to clean it out and change the water isn't so great, though, is it? Do you know, I've never seen inside your room there, Susato-san. I've never even peeped inside. I should think so, too. A young maiden's private chamber is a place of bittersweet secrets, you know. Whatever you say, young maiden. Alright, enough of this. Let's go ahead. Let's go see Sholmes and Iris. Morning, Runo. Morning, Susie. Good morning, Iris. Iris? What is it, Runo? What is that terrible noise? It sounds like a cat being strangled. Ah, yes. You noticed that, did you? Hey, he's a man of culture. He's trying his best, damn it. I appreciate that. Hurley isn't in the best form this morning, it seems. Aww. Hello. Aw. Oh no, I can't. I can't handle sad Sholmes. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Good morning. Oh. Oh, fluffy boy. Oh, he's so precious. A good morning to die, perhaps. Has something happened, Mr. Sholmes? You look miserable, and the way you were playing the violin before. My analytic mind is dead. Music is dead. The world is dead. Damn this blanched existence. That's all it is, my dear fellow. Nothing of consequence. I kind of like sad boy Sholmes, too. I like hyper manic Sholmes, and I kind of like sad boy Sholmes. I just like him in all iterations. I'm afraid I don't understand. Well, Iris, isn't it time we ate? Oh, he's so sad. He's like a puppy. Some dry toast and insipid coffee for me. If it's not too much trouble. They have a kitty. Oh, look. It's Wagahai. Good morning, boy. Oh, it just gets better. That must be some sort of tiny door for cats to use. But how did it get there? Well then, everyone, time for breakfast. Oh, wonderful. Let me help you, Iris. Ugh, it would indeed be a fine day to die. Oh my god. He's so emo. I knew something looked different. Something's missing from Mr. Sholmes' desk. Oh, we gotta talk to him. Wanting to die. Aw. You seem to be very unhappy this morning, Mr. Sholmes. What's happened? It used to be the case that in my hands His violin sung like the dawn chorus. Its melosona tones would make flowers bloom. It would? But now, the muses are unamused with me. The goddesses of music have thrown me over. Whatever do you mean, Mr. Sholmes? For hours I have bowed, for days even. Through the night I have endeavored, to no avail. That sound, my tone, is lost. That brilliant, clear, unwavering tone. Gone forever. No more recitals of unbridled emotion. There he is. There's some, like, emotion. Well, you haven't been practicing much lately, have you, Hurley? Don't worry. I'm sure it will come back to you in time. Heed my words, Mr. Naruhodo. The goddesses of the arts are fickle. One day they bestow genius on a man. The next, they unmercifully withdraw it. Oh, dear. Arg, why is this happening to me? If they take the turn I have for the violin from me, what is left, for pity's sake? What is left? Oh, deduction, perhaps? Isn't that what you're known for? Mr. Sholmes, I don't like to pry, but your desk looks rather empty today. Ah, well done, Miss Susato. Your observational skills do you credit. That almost sounded a little, sarcastic. Be like, oh yeah, you noticed the humongous thing missing from my desk. Good job. Oh no, Mr. Sholmes, they pale in insignificance when compared to yours. You'd struggle not to notice, wouldn't you? You mean Hurley's great analytoscope? That's at Windibanks now. Sorry? It's at a windy bank? No, Windibanks. The pawnbrokery. Pawn? What? Uh-oh. You mean you've pawned that enormous machine of yours? Uh-oh. Money troubles. It has some considerable value, you see. Quite undeservingly. But isn't it a very important machine for your work? I do wish you had consulted us if your situation had become so desperate. I should have gladly passed what little income I have to you. Dear madam, things are far from desperate. But the pawnbroker has your wonderful machine. How can it be anything but desperate? Making use of a pawnbrokery is quite ordinary here in London, I assure you. It is? It doesn't sound ordinary at all. It would seem that neither of you fully understand how pawnbroking works. Oh, what's to understand exactly? What did you mean when you said we didn't fully understand how pawnbroking works? To the people of London, pawnbrokeries are akin to banks. Banks. On Mondays, merchants relinquish their finest jackets and trappings to their pawnbroker of choice. With the money they receive in return, they are able to trade happily through the week. And on Saturdays, they go to recover their things using the money they've earned. I had no idea. This has been a fascinating lesson for us. That is pretty interesting. I was just like, I just assumed that they worked like pawn shops in modern times. Everyone does it, you see, especially people in inner London. And should they have money to spare, they would purchase another fine jacket. Not to wear, obviously, but to pawn, should the need arise. Oh, how ingenious. So whenever we have something that's getting in the way, we leave it at Windibanks, you see. A pawnbrokery can be thought of as an extremely secure vault. Who would have thought that even pawnbrokers are different here in Great Britain? Of course, you have to watch Hurley with it. Sometimes he pawns things he really shouldn't. Don't you, Hurley? I'm gonna assume that they're gonna go to the pawnbrokery and the machine is going to be gone. What does it matter? The world is dead to me now. I can't get over how sad he is. It's breaking my heart. So I can actually examine this place now. I wasn't able to do that before the first time I came here. The fire's burning comfortably in the grate again today. It's a very different feeling to a Japanese hibachi somehow. Oh, look at that photographic print of a lady displayed on the mantelpiece. Could it be? Yes, it must be. It's the woman. Oh, how exciting. Is that supposed to mean something to me? Are you not going to go into more detail about that, Susato? The woman. Mr. Natsume's cat seems to have settled into his new home then. Oh, they took his cat! Right! Oh, that's very sweet of them. Oh, yes, and I've been very attached to little Wagi. I guess that makes sense that it's got a Japanese name. Like, why would British people name a cat something Japanese? It would appear his previous owner is completely forgotten to him. That's a cat for you. Cats are unfeeling creatures. Their muse is empty as the hearts of the muses. Okay, I wouldn't go that far. Oh, gosh, so cute. If Mr. Natsume had no intention of taking Wagi back to Japan, I wonder why he kept him in the first place. I expect he would have taken him if he could. But pets are strictly forbidden aboard steamships in our experience. And for good reason. Terrible things can happen if the rules of passage are not obeyed. Well, I don't mind, because Waggy is adorable. Yes, he is. Aw. Yes, he really is. Oh, yes. What about the door? I don't remember seeing that tiny thing in the main door before. Where did that come from? Oh, you noticed? You are observant, Runo. Look, I use this. It's my latest invention. What is that? I call it the cat flapomat. Gosh, a machine for making doors just for cats? That's right. It can make a cat flap for a little furry friend like Waggy in seconds. And it can do it in any door at all, no matter what it's made of. It's very powerful, you see. Wouldn't it have been quicker just to make the cat flap rather than making a machine to make the cat flap? Well, yes, maybe. But now I can make cat flaps anywhere I like. Oh, I think it's wonderful. You must make one for us on the door of our office upstairs, Iris. She really knows how to come up with unconventional inventions, this girl. Let's see. Oh, Jesus. Oh, okay, I want to check out more of the apartment, but I guess that's not going to be happening. Oh, what was that? Wagahai? I'm just going to call it Waggy, because I'm definitely saying that cat's name wrong. What was that? Oh, no. Waggy's tangled up in your violin. I think he thinks it's a toy. No, what's he doing to it? Oh, dear. Mr. Sholmes' precious violin. He's probably like, it doesn't matter. Yeah, why should I care? What? I shouldn't be surprised. Oh, if the cat is a more accomplished musician than I now. Mr. Sholmes really is in poor spirits, isn't he? Well, anyway, I'll put it back where it lives, shall I, Hurley? Out of the cat's reach, if possible. Maybe we should assess the damage. It looks like that huge metal chest is being used as a table for tea and coffee. It seems very sturdy, with an equally sturdy lock. Mr. Naruhodo, you mustn't go around opening things. I always have to keep an eye on you, don't I? You're very mischievous. Well, where do you think Phoenix gets it from? How did you come to that conclusion? Look at Mr. Sholmes' desk. It's completely clear. Isn't that enormous machine usually on it? We can never hope to understand what goes on in the great detective's mind, Mr. Naruhodo. Why, next time we're invited, we may find he's vacated the entire suite. That's scarily plausible, actually. So this is the violin, is it? It's a Stradivarius, one of the finest violins in the world, made by the renowned Italian luthier Antonio Stradivari. Oh, I see. It doesn't really look like anything special to me. I happened upon it covered in dust, languishing in a pawn shop down a nondescript back alley. The broker had no idea of its value, so I was able to purchase it for a mere 55 shillings. How honorable of you. And until today, it has been my faithful companion in every great Paganini-inspired performance I have made. I ask you, is there reason to live in a world devoid of music? To tolerate this blanched existence? No! There is none. Mr. Sholmes. What, dear madam, what? My thoughts are preoccupied with fancies of release from this dull routine. Well, it's about the violin. It looks very different to normal, don't you think? Oh, did it get swapped? Is that not his usual violin? And that's why it sounds weird? What do you mean, Miss Susato? Oh, Susie's right. Yes. The tone of the wood is completely different. And that's not all. I'm sure there was no crack here before. Wait, it's not even the right size, is it? Sholmes, how did you not notice any of this? You're supposed to be a detective. What's this? I'm terribly sorry to have to tell you this, Mr. Sholmes, but that instrument isn't a violin at all. Then what? I believe it's an entirely different instrument called a viola. Viola? Viola? What? 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 Dude, you are not on your A game. You're right. You are quite right. This isn't my faithful Stradivarius. So what, pray, is this piece of stringed flotsam? Not your faithful performing partner, then. If he loves it so much, how did he not notice it was a completely different instrument? Ah, I see what must have happened. You do, Iris? This is just a simple mix-up. It sounds like Iris might be able to tell us exactly what's happened if we ask her. Is she gonna go into her deduction? Alright, let's go check. What did you mean by a mix-up, Iris? Well, you see, this violin... Sorry, this viola. Damn it, I don't know how to pronounce it. Was at Windibank's until last week. Oh, at the pawnbroker's. Not Mr. Sholmes' beloved musical partner. There we go, he's back in form again. There is a proverb from the East, with which you are no doubt familiar, my dear fellows. Always let a beloved child travel. I was gonna say, I do kind of like sad mopey Sholmes, but it's good to see him back like this again. Yes, indeed. So you sent your beloved violin to the pawnbrokers, in the hope that it would experience personal growth. Oh, what a wonderful idea. Last week, I pawned my great analytoscope in order to release my precious instrument, but it would appear Mr. Windibank mistakenly furnished me with this tawdry fiddle instead. But my ears cannot be deceived by the hollow timbre of this piece of timber. No, but your every sense was deceived by the fact it just had strings. Pshaw, a fine state of affairs this is, and why I always say, Mr. Naruhodo, never trust a pawnbroker. They will try to fiddle you every time. But earlier you told us you could think of a pawnbrokery as an extremely secure vault. Come, Mr. Naruhodo, dilly-dallying will get you nowhere. Sorry? Crunching your toast with that vacant aspect, fressing your coffee so, obtusely. Are you not a little embarrassed by your own conduct, considering the urgency to which we are faced? We must visit Mr. Windibank's brokery at once. That's right, isn't it, Mr. Sholmes? Precisely, Miss Susato, without a moment's delay. But I haven't finished my bacon and eggs. My dear fellow, surely you do not still intend to crunch your bacon with an increasingly vacant aspect? To fress your egg ever more obtusely? All right, say no more. Let's go then. Don't worry, Bruno. I'd be happy to heat it up for you again later. Oh, thank you, Iris. As it happens, I am rather curious to see what a British pawnbroker's looks like. Okay, I guess can't check this out just yet. So this is a British pawnbrokery. Oh my, there are all sorts of tools and contraptions in here I've never laid eyes on before. Ah, Susato-san, and that spark of wonder in your eyes. You can't wait to scour the shelves, can you? I get the impression you enjoy places like this. Oh, I'm saying like antique shops and stuff like that. Love it. Man, I wish the pawn shops around here looked this classy. Oh yes, I don't know why, but seeing such a lot of things I don't understand is a real thrill for me. My dear fellows, let us not forget why we are here. Oh, Mr. Sholmes. We are calling on matters of business, not pleasure. And clearly Mr. Sholmes means business too, judging by the spark of fury in his eyes. Ah, Mr. Sholmes, sir, welcome back. Did you hear that brazen welcome? Well, yes, we are potential customers after all. We are disgruntled customers, Mr. Naruhodo, and it's time to inform Mr. Winterbank of our ire. Oh, don't be a Karen. Come on, Sholmes. Be nice. Come, the fight is afoot. Naturally, you will recall this, which I retrieved from you some days ago. Yes? This second-rate fiddle is not my faithful instrument, Mr. Winterbank. The color of the wood is different. It has holes in it. It's not even the same size. A wonderful summary of our observations, Mr. Sholmes. Did he know it was a Stradivarius so that he swapped it out and then he sold it maybe to someone else, knowing how much it was worth? I'm so very sorry, sir. How utterly unforgivable of me. An inexcusable mistake for a pawnbroker. There is only one way to make amends. Oh, whoa, what? Whoa, Jesus! What the fuck? I shall have to take my own life. What? I don't think that will be necessary, do you? Is it because he lost the violin? If I may just say one thing before I pop off. Wow, I thought Sholmes was dramatic. Yes, Sholmes. It was you, sir, Mr. Sholmes, who took it upon himself to remove the item the other day, I believe. Sorry? As I recall, I entered the storeroom to fetch your violin when I heard, here it is. Oh my god, so it wasn't even Sholmes, it was your fault the whole time. Wow. You dick, but I still love you. You did? And when I turned to controvert you, you had taken the viola and left, sir. Oh, yeah. How, you left that part out, Sholmes. How convenient that you left that part of the story. However, there can be no doubt that the blame lies firmly at my own door for allowing you to leave. So, I shall not grumble or grouse any longer. May this guilt die with me. No, 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 no! Stop, my dear fellow! The fault is mine! I like the implication Sholmes was okay with letting him die until he realized that it was his fault. Jesus. Whew. It would appear the fight is over. I do humbly apologize, Mr. Winterbank. Evidently, my questionable disposition precipitated this tragedy. Well, at least he's taking accountability for it, which is more than a lot of customers would. Well, you wouldn't be Mr. Herlocke Sholmes without that questionable disposition now, would you? I do believe you may be right, sir. It's either laugh or cry, I suppose. You are, it must be said, one of my more challenging customers. Did he literally just pretend like he was gonna kill himself just to, like, get Sholmes to just shut up for a second? I needed to remind you of the peculiar collection of items you've brought through my door in the past. Oh? Peculiar items? In the extreme, ma'am. For example, the unpublished manuscript of an eponymous work, the novels of Herlock Sholmes, or some such. Oh my, a new, full-fledged novel? And unpublished. A story I've yet to read, you mean? Ah, forgive me. Oh no. Wait, before you die, you must tell me more, Susato. I must know more. Tell me everything. Wow, Susato-san is really fired up now. Is there really an unpublished story under this very roof? Well, one day the gentleman here brought it in an old metal chest, you see. I should like to entrust this to your care for a while, Mr. Windibank. For a chest like that, 1 shilling, sir, not a farthing more. It houses something of very great value indeed. The latest manuscript, recounting the adventures of one Mr. Herlock Sholmes. I beg your pardon? A manuscript? You wish to deposit a manuscript? Indeed I do, for I'm confident it will be quite safe here. And that was that. As such, Mr. Sholmes' latest tale of otherworldly mystery lies dormant in my storeroom. Mr. Sholmes, is that really true? Do I sense that someone doesn't want to talk about this? I continue to pay your fee, do I not? Then kindly continue to store my belongings, secretly. Of course, sir, of course. They're safe and sound with me, I assure you, on my life. This is all very strange. I wonder, could I ask you something? Ah, a gentleman from the East, I see. Yes, that sable suit. I suppose I could offer you 6 pence for it. Without wishing to offend, the tone is somewhat dull. Sorry? Aha, but for your splendid attire, ma'am, 5 guineas, no less. The colors are exquisite, the design exotic, Eastern artistry at its finest, may I say. Oh my, 5 guineas, you say? How interesting. Why do I feel as though I've suffered some sort of defeat here? Actually, I was hoping to ask you about your business. I've heard it said that pawnbrokeries are used rather like banks here in London. Yes, sir, indeed. Many of my customers utilize the establishment as you describe. I appraise their items and offer them a proportionate loan and 2 months of secure stowage. It is, if in that time they repay the original sum to me plus the agreed interest, their items are happily returned. But what happens if they don't pay you the money? Then the items are offered for sale in my shop, as you can see on the shelves behind me. So you never sell items before the 2 months has passed then? That's right, ma'am, that's right. Which means some considerable responsibility rests on my shoulders. Should a customer's precious belongings be lost, the only recompense is for me to end it all. The very idea, Mr. Windibank, is an absurdity. One should never talk of one's demise so casually as he was being like, everything is dead, I should die, like, what, 20 minutes ago? Says the man who was telling us all it was a good day to die only this morning, exactly. And let us not forget that I have already helped you take measures to ensure such a tragedy never occurs. Oh, what sort of measures? I engineered a simple device which Mr. Windibank has installed here in his shop. I call it the Red-Handed Recorder. Is that not so, Mr. Windibank? What was that deep sigh about? What on earth is a red-handed recorder? Use your eyes, my dear fellow. There are 2 just below the ceiling. It's like a security camera. And I have a feeling that's going to have something to do with the upcoming trial or case or whatever is about to happen. I can see what appears to be a camera attached to some sort of timing device. Very astute. It is indeed a camera furnished with some 100 pieces of celluloid film. And every 30 minutes precisely, the camera automatically records the appearance of the shop. I'm guessing the whole thing about the 2 months, holding items for 2 months, the camera. This is going to be brought up later. Here, I have an example I can show you. Ah yes, a print from the camera said to record the activity at the shop counter. I developed a special type of film so sensitive it produces a crystal clear image even in darkness. Really? That's extraordinary. Yes, you can clearly see the counter and the door behind it. Look. So you see, were someone to enter the premises with ill intent, his identity would be summarily exposed. Well, unless they get it out within a 30-minute time frame. But did you not say the photographic prints were taken at 30-minute intervals? Indeed, as you say, my dear madam. Then what if the incident were to occur in between times? One could only say that would be a cruel twist of fate. I must confess, your devices have been giving me some cause for distress of late. I beg your pardon, Mr. Windibank. Surely they are anything but distressing. Reassuring is the word. It's the cost of the film, sir. You most graciously placed not one, but 2 cameras in my shop after all, which means I must pay for nigh on 100 utterly useless prints every single day. I'm afraid the cost of the film will break me before I'm very much older. Or you could just not use them. Nevertheless, a small price to pay to ensure the safety of my preferred pawnbrokery, no? My dear fellows, we verge on an age where safety and security come at a price. Oh, heaven help us. Now then, Mr. Sholmes, allow me to return your precious violin. Ah, the very thing. Thank you, Mr. Windibank. Perhaps this might mark the end of the peculiar items you try to pop. Into one of them. This would be the only answer. I really think you ought to stop waving that gun around. Someone could get hurt. Fear not. Sorry? I'm guessing, like, it's not... Is it, like, not have any bullets in it? Or is it not a real gun? I've only loaded a single bullet, so no one but myself could possibly be harmed. Jesus. That's not really what I meant. Good day to you, then, Mr. Windibank. What? Why am I feeling that gun might end up being a murder weapon? It's been a pleasure as always, Mr. Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes must just... Mr. Sholmes, look at me being all... But if, Sholmes must be just so used to this guy always putting the gun to his head, that must be why he's so flippant about it. So, Mr. Naruto. Now, we can explore, at last. Okay, Susato. Talk about me being mischievous and wanting to peek around at stuff. You're no better than me. I've investigated thoroughly, but can't find anything out of place. There seems to be a little door hidden behind that curtain there. That leads to the storage room, where Mr. Windibank keeps articles that are currently in pawn. Ah, I see. There's nothing of particular interest inside. I certainly wouldn't recommend any larcenous activity. Recommend it or not, it's not something I tend to do. There is but one key, and Mr. Windibank keeps it in his pocket at all times. Okay, my guess is going to be either Windibank is going to be accused of accused of a crime, or he's going to wind up dead, and something's stolen. Before he sleeps, he places it into a small pot, which he slides under his pillow. How do you know all this, Sholmes? How on earth do you know about that, Mr. Sholmes? I am a detective, sir. It is my business to know what others do not. I am frequently assailed by information that I neither care for nor wish to retain. Mr. Sholmes, you are a wonder. And the prime suspect of this... this feels... Oh my god, what if Sholmes was the suspect? What if we had to defend Sholmes? Please let that be the case. The prime suspect of this pawnbroker is ever burgled. Burgled? Burgled. That doesn't seem like a word, but I think that's right. Like burglary? Burglar? I didn't realize that was a verb. What an assortment of things that are on these shelves here. Crockery, footwear, clocks, and watches. Almost anything you care to imagine. Those are forfeited items, offered for sale by the pawnbroker. What does that really mean, though? When you pawn, or colloquially, pop an item, the broker loans you money against its worth. He stores the item for an agreed period of time, after which the loan must be repaid. If not, he is free to display it in his shop for sale, at a price of his choosing. Oh, yes, now you've explained it. I'm noticing little price tags on everything. Of course, simply by paying the agreed interest on loan, one can extend the period of safekeeping. So, you may pawn that black garb of yours without fear, my dear fellow. My treasured university uniform? Never. It embodies my student spirit. Look at this. What could this lovely, big, shiny box be? That, my dear madam, is a music box. Surely you have such things in your own country. Oh my, yes, but I've certainly never seen one so large before. Shall we listen a while? Oh, what a sublime sound. It's like the music of angels. I've never heard anything like it before in my life. This particular specimen is of the larger variety, commonly found in public houses and restaurants. There is a metal disc inside on which the notes to be played are recorded. Simply by replacing the disc with another, any music you care to imagine can be played. My goodness, what a simply delightful machine. Indeed, though their popularity has waned recently with the development of the gramophone, of course. Science and technology advance at such an overwhelming pace. I'm guessing any money we may make in the future, she's gonna buy that music box. Look at that enormous ledger open on the counter. Mr. Windibank is, if nothing else, very particular about recording the items he accepts. He'd have to be, otherwise he'd get himself into all sorts of trouble. Which might explain the thing that catches my eye far more than the ledger. This revolver here. Oh, he's got a doggo! He's got a picture of a doggo. Of course, that's the thing my eye is drawn to, not the gun, but the picture of the dog. Do not entertain even a single thought of pilfering an article herein, my dear fellow. I assure you, Mr. Windibank would not hesitate to draw that weapon with a speed belaying his portly size. Oh, you don't mean he... blow his brains out? Indeed. Forgiveness for his blunder. Sholmes, God! Wow, he's so casual about it. Like I said, I know he's probably used to him putting the gun to his head all the time, but just like blow his brains out. What a way with words you have, sir. Oh my. But in any case, of course we would never do such a thing. How could you even suggest it? Can we check out that, where is that thing that he has, the camera? That's not a calendar you could easily miss, is it? 15th of April, today's date. Yes, that's not for sale, I must point out. It is an Eastern-style page-a-day calendar. Every night at midnight, I tear off the front page to reveal the following day's date. Okay, every day at midnight. That's gonna come in at some point too, I'm guessing. And then the camera, like, taking a picture of the calendar. The perfect calendar for a tearaway fellow such as yourself, Mr. Windibank. And who was it who walked out of here with the wrong violin? Well, when the agreed storage period is passed without repayment, articles are forfeited, you see. So, I have to keep a close eye on the date. Something of a pawnbroker's obsession, you might say. Oh, yes, I can see you're very dedicated to your job. Three globes of gold. Is that some sort of charm? Dear me, have you not seen that sign before? No, never. The three golden balls are, in Great Britain at least, the universal sign of a pawnbrokery. I keep wanting to say pawn. There are more than 700 such establishments in the capital, all showing the same sign. Oh, I see. I had not imagined your ignorance was so profound. Sholmes, so mean. Wow, they just got here like 2 months ago. Give them a break. Oh, well, what is the significance of the three golden balls then? Does it have some special meaning? That is entirely unimportant here, dear madam. Irrelevant, even. You mean you don't know? Look at this. Whatever could this be used for? I have no idea. Ah. There's a small catch just here. Look. We're going to open it, aren't we? Oh my, that's amazing. It has some sort of spring-loaded mechanism, which we'll never manage to put back to the way it was before. What are you two doing? What? Us? Nothing. No, nothing at all. Whatever this device is, it seems to have a pair of little windows to look through. I feel as though I've seen something rather similar to this elsewhere. Oh, there we go. Finally. Now, what do you suppose this rather enormous machine does? It seems to have two little windows for looking through. Allow me to enlighten you, my dear fellows. What you are looking at is a stereoscope. A stereoscope. Fascinating. It is aptly named, I assure you. Look through the eyepieces and see for yourself. Oh, I should be delighted to. Excuse me a moment while I just have a look. Just before you do, there is something I should point out. My dear fellows, in order to see the image properly, stereoscopically, as it were, you will need to be cross-eyed. However, that is beyond you. It is of little consequence today. Alright then, I'm going to try it. Ah! Mr. Naruhodo, you must see, at once. Oh, alright then. So I need to be cross-eyed, like I'm trying to look at my own nose. What the? Oh, the girl, she was one of the ones on the jury, right? I don't believe it. It's just a photographic print, but it seems like you could reach out and touch it. She's the one that was like the maid, right? In the first trial? Yes, the sense of depth is startling, is it not? Stereoscopes are of London's many fads. It's like the original VR. They are often found in little stalls in the park. People queue for hours to see them. Why? Why are people meddling with such black magic? It is no magic, my dear madam. It is, well, far too complicated to explain at present. We shall save this lesson for another day. AKA, you don't know how it works. Oh. What? Only tuppence for it? That ain't fair, and you know it. The article is barely worth a penny, miss. I cannot offer more. Oh! The way, talking. That's the, oh, from the first trial with the, McGilded. Sounds like there's an argument brewing by the counter. Come on, that can't be right. Have you had a proper butcher? That's gotta be her. Have you even had a proper butcher's at it? I've seen all I need to see, young girl. Oh, it's totally her. Yes, it is! I can't remember her name. Oh, I'm so happy we're having, like, some characters come back. She was pretty cool. I just love her whole design. Wait, don't we know? I'm sure I recognize her. Oh, yes, it's the young lady from Mr. McGilded's trial 2 months ago. Her name is GINA LESTRADE. GINA LESTRADE? I'm gonna go with Lestrade. GINA Lestrade, my lord. She's a chancer, earns her crust among large crowds, relieving people of their purses. What's commonly called a pickpocket. Gordon Bennett, you lot! Hello, Miss Lestrade. I hope you've been well. Eh? What? You remember me then, do ya? Well, I remember being completely surrounded by smoke, that's for sure. So, what are you doing in here? Down and out, like the rest of us? Nothing to eat? Come to pop that black weasel? Sorry, coat, have ya? What is it about this black uniform that makes everyone comment on it? Ah, good day, unless I'm much mistaken. You would be the young pickpocket who stole our experimental smoke grenade launcher. Ah, Mr. Sholmes. So, you have something of value to pawn, do you? Allow me to see the article, and I shall negotiate with Mr. Windbank on your behalf. Pull the other one. I don't know L from some stuck-up D. Get out of my business. Go on, I'll make trouble for ya. I love her. As you wish, Miss Lestrade. I will happily remove myself from your presence. He's really done it. He's gone. I'm sorry, but as I said, there really is no room for negotiation here. What is that thing he has in his hand? Some kind of metal disc. And you, go on, leave me alone. Oh, Miss Lestrade, just pretend we aren't here. We shan't be offended in the slightest. Susato-san can really stand her ground when she wants to. Whatever. Somehow, I didn't really think you were the sort of person who'd use a pawnbroker, Miss Lestrade. Yeah, well, I am, alright? I'm a Londoner, just like everyone else. That a problem, is it? No, not at all. It's just that, well... Oh, I get it. I know what you're thinking. That thing probably don't even belong to her. Probably got it on the dive, didn't she? Yeah, I could see it written all over your Chevy Chase. Well, I might have been thinking something along those lines. You're not going to deny it, Mr. Naruhodo. Alright then, I'm just going to come out and ask you straight. Do you pawn things that you steal from other people? Well, I don't know how best to answer that, really. Suppose, sometimes. You're not going to deny it either, Miss Lestrade. But not this time, alright? I swear. That thing belongs to me. The disc that Mr. Winterbank is holding. Perhaps we should see what he has to say about all this. Mr. Winterbank, what exactly is this metal disc that Miss Lestrade has brought in? It seems to have hundreds of tiny little bumps on it on the surface. Ah, this is a music disc, you see, for use inside a music box. In a music box? What, you don't even know what a music box is? Tuh, you Eastern lot ain't too savvy. We literally listened to one not that long ago. I know what a music box is, I've just never seen one of those discs. Okay, the disc, I was waiting for it to be like, I've never seen one before. I'm just like, you literally have. The small protrusions on the middle disc encode the tune to be played by the music box. You simply insert the disc and set the machine going, and beautiful music plays. It's so incredible. Tell us, what tune is on this disc? Well, I'm afraid I couldn't tell you that. There are so many different types of music box, you see. British-made, German, Swiss. I have no way of knowing which particular machine this disc was made for. Ah, I see. And that's it in a nutshell. I wouldn't have any customers for an item like this, even if the young lady forfeited it. Really, I'm already offering more than I should at a penny. That's a packet of lies. He told me he did. He said it was, well... He? Who? Never you mind. It just ain't right, that's all. That disc's worth good money. I know it is. Did she buy it off of somebody? Well then, you'll have to try your luck at another pawnbroker's, won't you? Maybe, like, maybe she took a stolen good from another pickpocket, so technically it's hers, and she said she didn't steal it, but maybe it is a stolen good. Ugh. She's been in before, of course. This little tatterdemalion. That's a mouthful. I see. And brought some dubious article or other with her every single time, I might add. Dubious? What are you trying to say? I'm an honest customer, me? So, is there something dubious about the disc she brought in today? Well, if only it were that simple. Sorry? What do you mean? What she actually brought in was a storage ticket. Ah, a storage ticket, so... Miss Lestrade has actually come to redeem an article from you today, is that right? Yeah, that's right. A girl like me has a lot of stuff what needs storing. Alright, yes, that's definitely dubious. The article in question would have been forfeited at midnight tonight, but as she gave me the ticket for it and repaid both the loan and the interest, I was obligated to return the article to her. But what was the article? Do tell us, Mr. Windibank. The little scamp is wearing it, ma'am. It's the overcoat she redeemed. Oh. What? What's wrong with it? It fits, don't it? I mean, it's mine, so of course it does. So, what about the disc then? How does that come into all this? Ah, the disc is something else. A new article to pawn. The girl and I can agree to a price. I'm confused. I thought you said Miss Lestrade brought in a storage ticket today. It's really quite simple. Yes, the child brought me a storage ticket, and the money owed on it, as you say. For this heavy black coat, she returned to her care, as I'd understood it. That's right, yes. And rather unsurprisingly, as soon as this little ragamuffin put the thing on, she went rifling through the pockets. Oh. Oh, you mean... What? Don't you know it's rude to stare at a lady? Ah, I see. So it came from the pocket of the overcoat, did it? If you mean this disc, then yes, exactly, ma'am. And she immediately tried to pawn it. For quite a high price as well. This is all rather suspicious, I think. Give it up. I'm just trying to pawn something like anyone else would. So she said he, so I'm assuming that's a men's jacket, but damn, she makes the jacket look good. Like, she's just got a good sense of style. Not many people could pull that look off. Miss Lestrade, may I ask who deposited the overcoat here in the first place? Well, me. It doesn't really appear to be your size. Me, old man. It's me old man's, ain't it? Is it, Miss Lestrade? Yes, this is definitely all rather suspicious. Out of my way, please. Oh, look at you, fancy chap. Who's this picture postcard English gentleman? He looks like he's gonna be a villain. He's just dressed like a villain. Good day to you, ladies, gentlemen. What's your problem, eh? There is no problem, as long as you remove yourself. I've a matter to discuss with the proprietor. And if you intend to make a problem of it, I shall see you outside, little girl, for the hiding you deserve. Look, ain't it obvious? I ain't done talking with him yet. If you think you're such a gent, you should know how to wait in line. Well, you are an impudent little brat, aren't you? As well as a pickpocket. Eh? Who are you? How'd you know who I am? The question is, how do you not know who I am? You haven't the courtesy to even remember the faces of your victims, it seems. What? You mean from you? Broker? Yes, sir. I believe this filthy pocket thief has just redeemed an article from you, no? Yes, Oh, is that his coat? The article in question belongs to me. I demand for it to be returned at once. Oh my. Now that's a lie. What are you trying to pull? Give me back my overcoat, you wastrel. And needless to say... Any music box discs, too. Well, I mean, that's like, he knew exactly what was in the pocket, so... Why is everybody so dramatic with their, their posturing? I love it. No, you can't have it. You just can't. It's me old man's, or it was. Now it's mine. Oh, okay. So she maybe wasn't lying about that? Goodness, Mr. Naruhodo. This is a very awkward situation. Yes, it's like I wish we would have left. I think perhaps we should hear both sides of the story in a little more detail. This is what the next case is. The case of the missing music disc and coat. Miss Lestrade, is what the gentleman saying? What do you think? It's all lies, ain't it? Obviously. I swear on me life, I ain't never laid eyes on that dandy before. Let's hear it now, you little ragamuffin. You stole it, didn't you? That ticket you brought in here just now. No, I swear it. I swear to God. It was barely an hour ago. I was walking along the street, minding my own business, when this little gutterling ran into me. I knew at once what had happened. I've been robbed yet again, I thought to myself. Those wretched pickpockets. Yet again? Well, when you go out dressed like that... Oh yes, as you can see, I'm a man of impeccable style. Not to say that people deserve to be robbed, but I mean, for pickpockets, like, he's very flashy. This isn't the first time that I've been targeted by these backslum scoundrels. Now then, relinquish my overcoat. Come along now, Miss Lestrade. Give the good gentleman his coat back. If you're going to cause trouble, I shall have no choice but to call the police. Hold on, why does everyone think it's me? Just look at this dandy cove. You think I'm the dodgy one? I'm sorry, but no one's going to believe you. Well, what about evidence? Yeah. Where's your evidence that I've stolen something, eh? Come on, let's see it. Oh, I have evidence, naturally. You what? Evidence that the article Miss Lestrade redeemed actually belongs to this gentleman. Of course, we need only consult Mr. Windibank's ledger to know the truth. We'll be able to look up the name of the person who deposited the article in the first place. Yes, brilliant. I'm very sorry, but I'm afraid that won't be possible. Oh. I never ask customers' names. That's a strict policy of mine. But why not? Well now, as you can imagine, some of my customers have circumstances to consider. A great many of them prefer to maintain their anonymity. Yes, I see. But then how can you know if an article belongs to the person asking to redeem it? Oh, it's quite simple. Good sir, might I trouble you for the watchword associated with the article in question? Of course, it's... Professor. Yes, that's right. And all the evidence we need. This gentleman is the rightful owner of the article, without a doubt. A watchword. Interesting. So, about these watchwords, Mr. Windibank. As I just explained, I never ask customers' names when they deposit items with me. There are many reasons why. Certain customers would like to keep their activities secret. Ah, Sholmes. That wasn't exactly a subtle glance at Mr. Sholmes now, was it? Great detectives have no dark secrets. None at all. I love he's like, I'm leaving now, but not really. Yes, well, anyway, that's why I always ask for a watchword whenever I accept a new article. In many ways, it's like the secret combination of numbers used to unlock a vault. The date of deposit, a description, and a watchword uniquely identify each item. And, of course, then I give the storage ticket to the customer. When someone comes to redeem something, I ask for the ticket and the watchword. And if that someone tells you the correct watchword, you return the article. That's right, sir, yes. Just as soon as the requisite fee is paid. And I have supplied you with the information you require already, but for the avoidance of doubt, the article in question is an overcoat deposited 2 months ago on 15th of February. With a watchword of Professor. All perfectly correct information, sir. Oh, GINA, you're gonna have a hard time talking your way out of this one. But how? Really, this is beyond a joke now. There's no further room for doubt. Ugh. Excuse me, but who are you? One would expect the Inquirer to introduce himself first. Though clearly you are not British, so perhaps our ways are foreign to you. Oh, sorry, yes, we're from the Empire of Japan. We're studying here. Oh, yes, Japan. I've heard talk of the place. What is this? He just gets more and more crazy. I love it. He did like a little shuffle. Its inhabitants live on some fiery, brown-colored soup, dressed up with exotic spices. You might be thinking of somewhere else. And what was that theatrical gesture? Oh, that's not the... This isn't the guy that was outside... He's not the Shakespearean actor from the last case that was outside before, was he? He looks very different. I just remember the other guy. I'm pretty sure he was blonde. And they're talking about how he's being very theatrical. And I was wondering, like, why is this guy... Why did they introduce this character so quickly, and then he just never heard from him again? Perhaps. Anyway, if you are a gentleman, sir, you offer your own name first, before inquiring after the name of another. Of course, yes. I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo. I'm a lawyer. Well, a student of law, really. My name is Susato Mikotoba. I am Mr. Naruhodo's assistant. I see. My name is Benedict. Yes. Eggert Benedict. Enchanté. He's so refined in how he holds himself and how he speaks, but that name is suspicious. I think that's the actor. I think that's him. Now, to the matter at hand. My overcoat. Return it at once to someone with the style to carry it off. Gina's got way more style than you. She's effortless. Ugh, every movie he makes, every breath he takes. I can't stand watching him. So, let that be an end to the matter. And thank you for your custom, Mr. Eggert Benedict, sir. This guy is ridiculous. With such reasonable rates of interest, I may even decide to come back. Tch, this is why I ate grown-ups. Just because I'm a diver, everyone thinks that makes me a liar. And the contents of the coat pockets, if you please, broker. But of course, sir, here's the disc for you. Just this one. Pardon, sir? I was expecting another. That is, I deposited another. Oh! Another disc. Oh dear. I regret to inform you, sir, that what was deposited with me was merely the overcoat. The disc happened to be in one of the pockets, but I was completely unaware of it until now. So, Gutterling, you're hiding more of what's rightfully mine, aren't you? Says who, eh? I don't know nothing about it. Very well. Then, I shall bid you farewell. Say goodbye to style. Wait a minute. That disc is mine. Oh. What do you think you're doing, you little tramp? You've drawn blood, you filthy animal. Oh my. Yes, there's blood on the disc. It's because of all the sharp little bumps. The man must have scratched his finger on them. I found it first, alright? I mean, it belonged to me, old man. So you're not having it. Oh, you take it. Me? If I hang on to it, they'll have me off again, so you keep hold of it. Miss Lestrade, why is this disc so important to her? You there, in the black livery. Livery? Hand that disc to me at once, please. No, don't. He's lying. Grown-ups are all liars. What do I do now? How am I going to resolve this? Hey, Sholmes, you want to help me out, maybe? Look at those piercing eyes. He's clearly in no mood to talk. We have to do something quickly before this mysterious gentleman leaves to fetch the police. Maybe you can do something? Windibank? Mr. Windibank is clearly at a loss. Yeah, we gotta get Sholmes. Yeah, we don't need Windibank to blow his brains out just to avoid the situation. Sholmes, are you still here, my dude? Oh, good, he's still there. I just gotta tear him away from that thing. He's just like, no, I'm doing this. Busy. Mr. Sholmes, what are you examining with such keen interest there? As you enjoy a bar of caramel, I see. Oh! What's this? What's this? So, you found me at last, Mr. Naruhodo. Sorry? After that young pickpocket sent me on my way, I was forced to lurk in the shadows, cruelly ostracized as the rest of you partook in the jovial atmosphere of fellowship. Aw, poor baby. I had nothing to occupy my mind, but was too ashamed to let society see what my downfall had done to me. So, feigning mock interest, I pretended to examine the tedious trinkets in this desolate place. Whilst, as you shrewdly observed, gnawing on the only friend I have left, the 7% solution of caramel. Oh my gosh. Pray, do you claim to understand the depths of my despair, Mr. Naruhodo? But how could you? I was so lonely, so desperately lonely. Then why on earth didn't you rejoin the conversation? Things have gone from bad to worse here, you know. Yes, I overheard much of your conversation. Or rather, in my craving for human contact, my ears devoured every word that was uttered. You really were sad, weren't you? Aw. Susato and me are on the same page. Like, poor Mr. Sholmes, I feel simply awful for you. It would seem that my inferences are incorrect. Oh, surely you're not about to tell us that you've solved the entire case once again. My dear madam, sometimes I wonder, were my genius for deduction to be, commoditized? How much could I pawn it for? It seems Mr. Sholmes has had another of his flashes of inspiration, but who knows if it will help to resolve the situation between Miss Lestrade and the mysterious gentleman. What's the right thing to do here? Oh, I should have said leave it just to see if he would get all sad, but it popped up so fast. Well, Miss Lestrade, it would appear you find yourself in something of a predicament. Tch, where the blue blazes have you been, eh? Pardon? When a lady's in trouble, a true gent's supposed to be there to help. Straight away, not an hour later. Harsh. And who, pray tell, are you? Mr. Eggert Benedict. You have, in my eyes, a veritable encyclopedia array of curiosities about your person. Nevertheless, there are two immovable conclusions I've drawn. I beg your pardon. The first is this. The true reason for your visit to the pawnbrokery today is something you have not yet revealed. And the second is this. A considerable crime is in contemplation. One you will orchestrate with intent to steal a vast sum of money. Well, Mr. Benedict, what say you to my deductions? How? He's turned as white as a hard-boiled egg. Oh, please keep the egg puns coming, please. It would seem that once again, Mr. Sholmes has made a flawless deduction. Just who do you think you are, sir? Ah, yes, as I hoped. That is precisely the pained expression I was looking for. So, shall we begin? Yes, we're doing the deductions. Heck yes. This time, the time has come for another Herlocke Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. First of all, we must ask ourselves of what business you ventured to this pawnbrokery today. You claim to have followed this pickpocket here, having had the redemption ticket stolen from you on the street. But that is most certainly a lie. The real truth is something quite different. Oh, he's got something in his hand there. As revealed by that which you hold in your hand. Yes, what brought you to the shop in the first place is the staff recruitment flyer. The piece of paper in your hand is a staff wanted advertisement from this very shop. Yet, even the most unobservant would soon realize a man of your appearance has no need of such employ. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. The cane, which you unwillingly clutch to your person, exhibits an incontrovertible contradiction. What utter rot. I've had this cane for years. The contradiction of which I speak is, of course... Oh no, it's the initials on there. The missing ferrule? The end of any walking cane would be terminated with a metal ferrule to protect the wood tip. And yet, detailed analysis shows the wooden tip of this stick to be utterly bare. AG. So we gotta find out who AG is. Therefore, there's only one conclusion. The rod you hold in your hand, which appears to be a walking cane, is in fact no cane at all. You recoil, sir. Is something wrong? And, in your recoiling, you inadvertently facilitate the answer of the next conundrum to present itself. Namely, what is the truth behind this rod you bear? Yes, your reaction betrays the truth. The handle, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. From the moment I saw it, my suspicions were aroused. What walking cane demands such a stout handle? Mused I. But, of course, as I said, this is no walking cane. No, that rod is the broken handle of a shovel. What? Are you insane? And now, having determined this undeniable truth, the conclusion is clear. Your true motive for coming here was to take employment at this establishment in order to excavate the ground beneath the premises. What a calculated crime you've conceived, sir. A wickedly calculated crime. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. For we must expose the details of this elaborate crime you have in the planning. This is utterly absurd. You suggest that I, gentlemen, intend to excavate the ground beneath this pawnbrokery with a broken shovel? What on earth do you propose I could expect to find there? Some long-forgotten treasure, I suppose. Save for such a fanciful theory, what possible reason could I have to do as you say? Oh, but there is ample reason. As you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. Now he's looking at the ledger, isn't he? Ah, and your furtive glance is more telling than I could have hoped. What? Let us consider what would motivate a man to infiltrate a shop such as this and covertly dig beneath its floor. Or was he looking at the back room? Or the gun? The answer is revealed by the council notice on the counter to which your eyes were inadvertently drawn. This letter gives notice of public works to be carried out in the local area. And, according to the enclosed plan of the upcoming sewage works, beneath the shop runs a sewer that adjoins another, one that runs under the bank on the opposite side of the road. This madness has entered the sewers now, has it? By excavating the ground beneath our feet, you would gain access to the waterway. That flows in very close proximity to the great value of the financial institute opposite. He's looking at the calendar. What are you? In summary, sir, you devised a master plan to pull off an elaborate bank robbery by dint of the underground tunnels. But, master plan? Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. With what plunder did the thief hope to make off from the underground vault of the bank? Are you quite serious? Having consulted with Scotland Yard some days ago, I happen to know the answer. But, naturally, the answer is no secret to you, is it, Mr. Benedict? I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. You see, this picture postcard tells us all we need to know. A postcard of the Great Exhibition. I'm afraid you quite lost me. Currently in the final stages of preparation, the Great Exhibition will soon be underway, and the government has provided extra funds to complete its centerpiece, the Crystal Tower. Funds that currently sit in the vault of the bank. On the other side of this road. Pardon? Yes, the considerable crime you have been contemplating is the theft of that which sits in the vault of that bank, the special reserve funds for the great exhibition. Of course, that is top secret police information, so keep it under your hat, please. Thus concludes Herlocke Sholmes' great deduction of this pawnbrokering puzzle. Mr. Sholmes? Well, Mr. Naruhodo? An impressively upbeat deduction for a detective racked with loneliness, would you not agree? Was it true what you said about the bank over the road and what it has in its vault? Indeed, though few know of its existence, it is one of the government's most closely guarded secrets that I just told like 5 people. Gregson told me in the strictest confidence. But you just announced it to everyone here, rather loudly in fact. Ah, and if it's such a big secret, how would Mr. Benedict have come to find out about it? There can be but one explanation for that. Clearly, it is because the man is a criminal. But what if he didn't know anything about the money in the vault? If he is a criminal, as you said, then buying a brand new shovel is sure to be the first thing he does now that you've revealed the secret. Oh, or if he doesn't, maybe Mr. Windibank will. He already has plenty of shovels here after all. Oh my life, I assure you, I'm not so unscrupulous. Well, hopefully this has taught you a valuable lesson. Sensitive information must be handled with the utmost of care. Do as I say, not as I do. One can never be sure that someone privy to secrets won't disclose them, and once the word is out, it's out. So he's like, it's Gregson's fault for telling me. Perhaps I'll think twice before confiding in you next time, Mr. Sholmes. An excellent idea, Mr. Naruhodo. An excellent idea. Well then, Mr. Naruhodo, you know what to do, I'm sure. Yes, let's listen to that great deduction again, and see if we can massage it into shape. Very well then, let us start once more from the beginning. Of Herlocke Sholmes' magnificent logic and reasoning spectacular. So, by Mr. Sholmes' reasoning, Mr. Benedict came here in order to apply for a job so he could dig down through the floor. Yes, an attempt to tunnel into the sewers to gain access to the money in the vault of the bank across the road. But he wouldn't get very far with a broken shovel, would he? No, I think it's fair to say his motives lie elsewhere. The question is, where? What did bring Mr. Benedict here at this particular appointed time? How do I spin it around again? There we go. Oh! Oh my gosh, that's such a... Is that a little drawing of what's her name? It's so cute, of GINA? Oh my gosh, it's such a cute little drawing of GINA. Oh, look at all the scribbled notes on the back of the flyer here. I don't believe it. What is it? Listen to what it says. Name, GINA Lestrade, height, 5'2". Green cap, scruffy waistcoat, grubby white shirt, blue satchel, ragged. It's a detailed description of Miss Lestrade. Goodness. There's even a sketch of her, hat and all. Although, if he showed it to her, she'd fire that smoke grenade launcher in his face for sure. And look, the details of the shop have been written down here too. Windibank's Pawnbrokery, Baker Street, redemption deadline, 15th of April, which is today's date. Why would Mr. Benedict have all that information scrawled on the back of that piece of paper? Okay, interesting, interesting. Now, how do I present that again? Suspicious writing on the back of a suspicious flyer in the hands of a suspicious gentleman. I didn't think there was anything suspicious about the flyer, Mr. Naruhodo. But yes, Miss Lestrade's name and height, and a description of the clothes she's wearing. Not to mention the sketch of her likeness, which I'm fairly sure she wouldn't take lightly. And today's date, too. Redemption deadline. We can't let this go, can we? It's far too suspicious. How do I present again? R? There we go. I was just like, oh, I couldn't remember how to actually present it. Yes, what brought you to the shop in the first place is the info about Miss Lestrade. Quite so, my dear fellow. It would appear the writing and sketch on the reverse of the flyer pertain to the pickpocket, Miss Lestrade, and to Mr. Windibank's pawnbrokery here. You originally told us that you had merely given chase after Miss Lestrade stole the redemption ticket from you. But that, sir, is a thinly veiled lie. It is the information on the back of the flyer that led you here today, by which I mean here to Windibank's pawnbrokery, and today, the redemption deadline, that overcoat. So there's something about that music disc, or what should be multiple music discs, that are something is important about them. So you waited outside for the young girl matching the description you have written down to arrive. I'm guessing he's an actor. He's that actor, right? And he's dressed up to look like Mr. Fancy Gentleman so that he'd be more believable. Is he working for someone? Is he working for... It seems like... I'm guessing he's working for somebody. And because he's an actor, he just needs work, you know? So he's like, okay, I'll dress up as a gentleman, fancy gentleman, and come in here and get the coat and the disc for whoever wants it. And you have gone to some lengths to hide the reason for your pursuit of Miss Lestrade. In other words, there is some ulterior motive for your actions. What's a ferrule? It's the metal cap commonly found on the end of a cane, Mr. Naruhodo. Ah, the bit that makes the nice clanking sound on the pavement. Yes, exactly. And Mr. Sholmes is right. It appears to be missing that on the cane. But it doesn't actually look broken, does it? No, it doesn't. Though the gentleman certainly did recoil when Mr. Sholmes identified the cane as suspicious. In other words, there's some secret about the cane Mr. Benedict would rather we didn't know. It's definitely... Okay, so I'm trying to think. AG. Is there anyone we know who's got those initials? Look here, Miss Susato. There are some letters on the handle. Oh yes, those must be initials, I think. In the West, it's customary for people to engrave their belongings with the first letters of their names. So, Herlocke Sholmes would be HS, you mean? That's right. And the initials on this cane, obviously... Oh, AG. Why does it feel as though that's not quite right?
Take that!
The contradiction of which I speak is, of course, the initialing. A most astute observation, wouldn't you say, Mr. Eggert Benedict? We are led to believe, sir, that your initials are EB. Yet, in a most possessive manner, you have in your grasp a cane bearing the initials AG, unless that's his real name. And oh my gosh, this word. Incontrovertible contradiction indeed. Would you not agree? No, you're wrong. This cane isn't. You said before you'd had that cane for years. So, don't try to tell us you just borrowed it from a friend or found it in the park. In short, though you hold yourself to be a gentleman, you have withheld your true name. You recoil, sir. Is something wrong? Well, Let's consider the bare bones of what's happened here. Miss Lestrade redeemed that fine-looking overcoat. And now, a mysterious man has appeared, introducing himself with a fake name, and claiming the overcoat belongs to him. But we know that he actually identified Miss Lestrade from a written description, which suggests that everything else he's told us is untrue. So what we need to do here is somehow prove the overcoat cannot possibly belong to him. Oh, there's a rip. Oh, the seam on the shoulder there is coming apart. Look. So it is. Do you know, a moment ago when Mr. Benedict was surprised by something that was said, oh, it's because it's not the right size. It's too small for him. I thought I heard him make a rather strange noise. It sounded a bit like a tiny growl. But now I think it was probably the sound of the seam ripping open. If you look closely, it does seem to be very tight fit. The sleeves are stretched to bursting, and he wouldn't have a hope of fastening it at the front. If he were to run around in it, I'm sure the whole thing would fall apart. That I'd like to see. Sorry? So, how can we make Mr. Benedict run around? She's really giving this some thought.
Take that!
The split seam, which you evidently would like to conceal, is the key to understanding this riddle, you see. Yes, because the overcoat is rather obviously a poor fit. Having forced it over your broad shoulders, the seam is already breaking apart. My suspicions were aroused from the outset. When you so baldly lied about your name, and so boldly waylaid this pickpocket. This catalogue of untruths has all been for one very specific purpose. To steal the article that the young girl redeemed from Mr. Windibank. But what really irks me is this. The considerable crime I initially imagined has been considerably curtailed. Well, hopefully Gina will appreciate the fact that we didn't take the guy at face value and we're trying to solve it and believe her. Now, Mr. Benedict, let us continue. Okay. Alright, you suggest that I, a gentleman, designed a wheeze to filch some tawdry article of pawnage? Have you forgot that I redeemed the article in the proper manner, using the watchword? It'd be funny if it was just slowly ripping every time he started dancing around. Had I not been the one to deposit it in the first place? How could I possibly have known the relevant details? Ne sais pas? Oh, but the watchword can be discovered. As you are only too well aware, Mr. Benedict. Okay, yeah, he saw it in the ledger. Alright, let us consider how one might come to learn a secret watchword relating to the pawned property of another. The method is revealed by the council note on the counter. Really? The direction of the deduction must change rather dramatically now, I think. Yes, no more talk of tunneling into the sewers. Which is a pity, because it all sounded rather exciting. Anyway, you can't deny that the mysterious gentleman did know the watchword. Yes, Professor. If you didn't know that word, Mr. Windibank would never allow you to redeem the article. Or, looking at it another way, if you did know the word, Mr. Windibank would allow you to redeem the article, whether it was yours or not. So the question is, could this gentleman have found the watchword out somehow? Oh my gosh, move over. Is that not the ledger there? Oh, the notelet? Oh, I thought it would be in this big old thing right here. What's this little book? Look at this, Mr. Sato. Ah, it appears to be a memo that Mr. Windibank has scribbled to himself. Let's see. What does it say? Oh, Professor. Mr. Windibank must make a note of the watchwords his customers give him, right before their eyes. And in alarmingly clear script as well. Oh dear, I don't know where to look. Who knows what other secrets I might see. Yeah, dude, you're gonna have to find a better way to do this.
Take that!
The method is revealed by the notelet and the counter to which your eyes were invariably drawn. Yes, the broker here follows the same procedure whenever a customer comes to redeem an article. He asks the customer for the watchword, and notes down the response uttered on a notelet he has to hand. Then, he consults his ledger and confirms whether or not the watchword matches that of the article in question. I would expect nothing less of a diligent pawnbroker. But his diligence clearly has its disadvantages. What are you talking about? It is increasingly apparent that you were present in this shop before your accusation against Miss Lestrade. In all likelihood, you followed her inside and then observed her talking to Mr. Windibank. When the diligent broker made a note of the watchword, as is his common practice, you observed him writing the word Professor on the notelet beside the ledger. And that, sir, was the master plan you devised to steal the pawned article from the young Miss Lestrade. Master plan? Which brings us at last to the final chapter of this lurid scheme. Why would you go to such lengths to redeem that particular article from this pawnbroker? Are you quite serious? For an ill-fitting overcoat hardly seems to justify the effort, much less a worthless music box disc. But naturally, you had very good reason to make them yours, didn't you, Mr. Benedict? And he did say something about there should have been two. I have no idea what you're talking about. Allow me to present a rather interesting piece of evidence. Picture postcard. Okay. The articles we're talking about are the overcoat and the music box disc that was in one of the pockets, which, according to Mr. Windibank, isn't even worth a penny. And yet, this man went to such lengths to steal them. Why? I wonder if perhaps we already have the evidence we need to explain it, Mr. Naruhodo. Could we? Really? I'd better have a thorough look through all the evidence we've collected so far. Oh. Well, there's only two, so I guess it would be that?
Take that!
Oh, no? Okay. Oh my gosh, I've actually failed. I didn't think I could fail at this. That deduction was wanting in every way. Yes, I was waiting for you to hear it. I'm quite proud of it. He's taking notes from Sholmes about how to, like, you know, recover after saying something wrong. I find myself wanting never to have heard it. I'm quite pained by it, in fact. Oh, sorry. I'll try again. This is interesting. I've never had this happen before. Okay, so I guess we have to review the scene, not necessarily... The man has used some fairly high-handed measures to try and get his hand on the overcoat and disc. He certainly doesn't want either for their monetary value, though. Still, they must be of value somehow to someone. This is the last piece of the puzzle. We better have another look through the evidence. Okay, so I was literally looking through my evidence, but let's review the scene instead. Is it the scene itself? Wait. Oh, is it GINA? GINA herself? Because literally it's just the two things here. This is a little different than normal. Oh, maybe I have to examine it. Ah. Okay. Is it the blood? The fact that his blood is on it? Ah, there we go. McGilded. Okay, I'm a dummy. Oh, there's a little scrap of paper stuck on the reverse side of the disc. Look. And a scribbled word or two. It looks like somebody's name. For McGilded. Oh, I'm glad we're getting back to McGilded, because I was like, okay, there's more to this guy, obviously. McGilded? It couldn't be. But it is, Mr. Naruhodo. A name I shall never forget for as long as I live. So she put that in storage 2 months ago. But why? Why is his name on this? And that was around the time of his trial? No. No, well, yeah, they did say that they've been in London for 2 months. And that trial was his first trial, literally the day he got into London. So she must have deposited that for him right before the trial. Interesting. Okay. Now we can present it.
Take that!
You see, this music box disc tells us all we need to know. What's that? On the back. It reads, for McGilded. Ah, Mr. Magnus McGilded, the unfortunate philanthropist who perished in curious circumstances at the Old Bailey 2 months ago. A prominent man in London, though his loan-mongering demonstrated a distinct lack of scruples. So, you're an associate of his, are you? Or perhaps a subordinate? Mr. McGilded was a man of unusually small stature. In fact... Oh! He was precisely the right size for the overcoat that you've squeezed yourself into. Okay. Your true identity remains shrouded in mystery, Mr. Egbert Benedict. But the final conclusion here is crystal clear. The reason you came to this pawnbrokery today was to retrieve an article left behind by the late Magnus McGilded. I'm surprised that jacket's not ripped to shreds with all that spinning he's been doing. Well, well, Mr. Magnus McGilded. Not a name I expected to hear in these circumstances. Mr. Sholmes, I'm afraid there's something very troubling on my mind. Pray tell, Miss Usato. Well, according to what Mr. Windibank told us earlier, today was the final day on which the coat could have been redeemed, was it not? Yes, ma'am, that is correct. Today would be precisely 2 months since it was first deposited. Well, today is the 15th of April, so 2 months ago today, that was the trial. Would have been the 15th of February, sir. That's right. It's all carefully recorded in my ledger. Deposited at 10:30 p.m., I see. What? But that suggests... Yes, the 15th of February is precisely the day on which the omnibus murder took place. Or the murder, sorry, not the trial. And 10:30 in the evening is precisely the time at which the terrible events were unfolding. Suggestive is not the word. It would seem the matter is entirely beyond coincidence. You are, of course, at liberty to make whatever outlandish deductions you choose. However... Oh! I must insist you hand over the music box disc. Music box disc. Why do I have such a hard time saying that? I spent a lot of guns in this episode. It would be a terrible shame for you to return to your native land in a box. What do I do? Absolutely not, and then I die. Game over. There are some things a man must protect at all costs. This may well be one of those things. Then again, it may not. Oh, Mr. Windibank. This is my shop. I can't allow any harm to come to my customers. If that were to happen, I should have to take my own life. Mr. Windibank, no. Alright, that's enough. Hey, Gregson. Inspector Gregson. Inspector? That's right, Sunshine. The alarm was raised on one of our dedicated emergency lines. So, we got here as fast as we could. Now, what's all this about, eh? Oh, praise be, you're here at last. I was moments away from forfeiting my own life in my very own establishment. It would seem you have the upper hand. Right, you thought of some explaining to do. I don't appreciate being bothered with some petty argy-bargy. Argy-bargy? Argy-bargy? Petty! Mr. Windibank very nearly met with his end. At his own hands. Yeah, by his own gun, as far as I can tell. Oh dear. And the whole of Britain could meet with its end, if I don't get to the bottom of this case I'm supposed to be working on. What? What on earth is the case, Inspector? Spare no detail, Gregson. I might have said a little too much. No matter. It's nothing to do with you lot. Anyway, sir, you're gonna have to come with me down to the station. But of course, Inspector. Oh, he's getting away. Get after him, lads. Whistle the beat officer, too. Sir. Oh, maybe the beat cop from the last episode. He can redeem himself by catching that guy. What was his name? Rory or something? Or Rolly? There's been a spat of thefts at pawn shops around here recently. So, we fitted emergency buttons underneath the counters for brokers to let us know when there's trouble. Oh, Inspector, I was very worried there for a while. Very worried indeed. Now then, Mr. Permanently in Mournin'. Oh, yes? Because he wears a... Everybody does talk about his jacket a lot. I'll be taking that whatever it is of McGilded's down to the yard, thank you very much. So, hand it over. Oh, yes, of course. No, don't. Don't give it to him. It's mine, that is. Mine. I'm sorry, miss. But anything belonging to McGilded has to be taken in as evidence now. As evidence? If the police demand something as evidence, my dear fellow, we have no choice but to capitulate. It's all yours, Inspector. And so we handed Mr. McGilded's disc over to Inspector Gregson, and were similarly turfed out of the shop and onto the street. Alright, so that will do it for this episode. A interesting beginning. I like the returning characters. I like that Gina's back. That Egbert Benedict, or whatever his name, Eggson... I'm pretty sure that that's the actor, the Shakespearean actor that was at the place where Natsume was in the last case. So if that's him, that's awesome that he's come back in some capacity. And the fact that we got, like, the McGilded case is apparently something's going on with that. I like that they're kind of bringing that back, because it ended so strangely with him dying, and I'm like, there's got to be more to it. And I'm guessing it's something to do, there's some corruption at the top, and maybe we're going to blow it all wide open. We got Sad Boy Shomes, and then we got, you know, normal Shomes again. That was always a good time as well. So, yeah, I'm really liking the beginning of this 5th chapter so far. I'm assuming it's going to be a very long one, because the last chapters are always, like, extra long. So, yeah, we'll just have to stay tuned and see what happens next. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Until then, bye. Special shout out to my top tier patrons. Nana, Sparky, Dumbass Loser, Tequila Mockingbird, Puncake G, Joel Ostman, Harry Gazif, Asborn Kennedy, Icognito, and Jared Fan.